It's really, really hard to be a creative in this world right now.
AI is already trained on your work. It's not asking for permission, and it's not waiting for you to catch up.
Anthropic trained its model on one of my books. There was a lawsuit with a $1.5 billion settlement.
Wow.
What both Anthropic and Meta did is they went to some of these pirate websites and sucked up all of them into their database and trained on that. Do I get a royalty check?
No.
But I feel like I should.
Adam Leipzig is a former Disney and National Geographic film executive who's helped make over 35 movies, including Dead Poets Society and March of the Penguins. His movies have generated over $2 billion and have been nominated for or won 10 Oscars and 11 BAFTAs. He's now arming creators with the tools and mindset they need to build real careers and keep telling human stories that stand out in a world run by AI. If you're creative and you sleep on this, your style will be copied, your work will be scraped, and the only thing left will be the people who learned how to use AI without losing themselves. This conversation is the playbook for surviving that future.
Could AI create a pretty good Jason Statham movie? Yeah, there's about 40 to train on. Could you create Barbie or Oppenheimer? I don't think so. Inventing something that hasn't really been done before, that it's not going to do.
So if AI
can already fake a pretty good version of you,
what do you have to do now to make sure you're not the one it replaces?
I think that...
Adam Leipzig, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. It's so good to be here.
I saw your recent Facebook post on AI. You said AI isn't the end of creativity, it's the beginning of a bigger room. What do you mean by that?
It's just a tool. It's a really great tool. It's a very powerful tool, but it's not the end. People who think it's the end of creativity are so mistaking what AI is. AI is just another way. It's just another brush. It's just another hand. It's just another camera. It's just another way that we're going to use it. But the thing about artificial intelligence is that it's always retrospective. It bases its decision trees on what it has previously learned. It doesn't come up with the future. And any AI that is predicting the future, which we could ask it to do, would be basing it on having read a bunch of science fiction books and watching 2001: A Space Odyssey. It wouldn't really predict the future.
Yeah, and does that mean it always depends on new things being created for it to basically use?
Exactly. And even look, and right now, AI, and I am very in one sector of my life, very involved in the AI and technology universe. So at this point, AIs have pretty much learned everything that they can learn from all the available information which exists.
Wow.
And so now AIs are being trained on synthetic data, right? So they're synthesizing new data so they can keep training. What is synthetic data synthesized from? Old data. It just keeps repurposing. It's like it keeps regenerating and repurposing things. I don't know. It's like a Cuisinart. You can put a bunch of vegetables in it and stir them up, but it's always going to be the vegetables you put in.
Yeah. So why do you think people are overreacting so much? Is it just because it's a new technology and that's how humans are wired?
Everybody hates change.
Yeah.
Social, political, emotional, relationship change, we hate. But also it is definitely going to disrupt economies, and it will definitely disrupt certain kinds of jobs. At the same time, it will create new jobs, but some jobs are definitely going to go away. And that's super disruptive. I think people are also concerned about the widening technology gap between haves, have-nots, rich, poor, technology enabled and technology less enabled. And those are real social concerns. Although I think that is going to reduce over time.
Yeah.
A technology gap, because technology keeps getting cheaper and cheaper and keeps needing less and less energy to roll. So that technology gap will reduce. And I think that not everyone needs tomorrow's technology. Everybody doesn't need the technology of exactly the moment. I don't know, like I got a Samsung S24. It's not the newest Samsung, but it works fine. And it runs AI. So I think that's just I think that those things will even out. But yeah, jobs are going to go away and new jobs are going to come.
Yeah, I remember Jensen Huang, the founder of NVIDIA, said most of the jobs that will go away are the automated tasks that a lot of people don't want to do. And I guess for the creative jobs that you're so involved with, will just be leveraging AI as a tool. But what does it actually look like? What does leveraging AI as a tool look like in your industries?
We use it for things both mechanical and as a creative extender. So mechanically, it helps us schedule. Like we can break down a script in moments instead of days. We can figure out purchase orders and budgets and all of that stuff much faster and much more efficiently. So that's great. And in terms of creative, we can do production design, pre-visualization, post-viz, image replication, image creation really fast. But here's the interesting thing, Jacob. It saves time for those things, but it doesn't really save time in production. We just use the time to do other things. And it lets us be more creative because we are able to use the excess time to just do more creative things with it. It's not like it's going to take a movie that it was going to take 2 years to make and we're going to make it in 2 months. It's still going to take 2 years to make. It's just going to be better because we have more creative time to work on things to make them better. It's 20 years ago when social media really started to explode. I remember sitting with the head of a marketing department at a studio, and he said, "Oh, it's great. Everyone's going to post all about our movies, and we're going to be able to cut our marketing budgets in half." That didn't happen, did it? Now, you still have to buy traditional media so people know about it, and you've got to have a social media strategy and a social media coordinator and a whole social media marketing budget. So actually, marketing budgets have exploded. They haven't reduced. The amount of time it takes to market a movie has still taken the same. It's still the same, right? I think it's going to be the same with AI.
Yeah, so you're just going to be able to do more in the time you normally would have anyway.
Yeah. And the budgets aren't going to really reduce. The budget for some things will reduce, right? Like today on the laptop that we are using right now for this podcast, we can do the visual effects that Jim Cameron did at the first Avatar that he spent $300 million creating.
Wow.
So we can do that. So those things will be cheaper, but other things are not cheaper. And the ultimate budget of projects is not really going down.
Yeah. And is that against what most people predicted for AI in your specific film industry? Do they think the budgets were going to be like a third of the price or 10% of the price?
Yeah, I don't think anyone reasonable who has seen pattern recognition has said that. But there are some people who have said, "Oh, everything's going to be cheaper." It's not. Some things are cheaper. Some things are more expensive. So now we need data analysts and data engineers. Those were jobs that didn't exist before.
Yeah.
So,
So
like that.
do you think there will be no AI-made films, songs, or creators who are as good as the best in the world right now who aren't doing that? Because I'm sure you've seen these AI-made songs and like animations and stuff.
I think there will be as good as some of it, but not as good as the best. All right. So now please don't, Jason Statham, if you're listening, don't take this wrong. I love Jason Statham movies, but could AI create a pretty good Jason Statham movie? Yeah. There's about 40 to train on. They have a very specific formula. The character he plays is a certain type and has certain beats. You could probably create a pretty good Jason Statham movie with AI. Could you create Barbie or Oppenheimer? I don't think so. So that's the difference as I was talking about before. The difference of creating based on existing retrospective data or inventing something that hasn't really been done before. It's that it's not going to do. And those movies, I don't know if you've listened to this brilliant new album of Rosalia's called Lux.
No, I have heard it's done well though, hasn't it?
Dear God, it's great. It completely blew me away. As soon as it released, I closed all the windows in this loft, turned off the lights, closed my eyes, and listened to the whole thing straight through loud, and then did it again. It is brilliant. I wouldn't come up with that. Could it come up with the latest pop song by a disposable, easily evaporable pop singer? Yeah, probably. I'm sure.
But will it though? If that's the case and then songs do well, will we just see loads of different AI avatars with like one-hit wonders?
Probably. Yeah, probably. Yeah. I also think people are going to get more discerning about AI, right? When I first saw The Untouchables, that film, right? I thought it was brilliant. And there's this moment where Kevin Costner plays the actor playing Frank Nitti off a roof. And you see this shot of Frank, like a high angle shot, and Frank Nitti is falling down, right? So when I first saw that, it looks amazing. Look at it now. It looks like such a cheesy visual effect because we've just gotten more discerning. That little green line that used to be around the person that was cut out in composites, we didn't really notice it because we were so blown away by the visual effect when we first saw that. What was it, 30 years ago? But now it looks terrible. I think we're going to get better and better at discerning AI. When people write something with GPT, we can tell, right? It's got a style.
Yeah.
It's got a way of indenting one space on that first line of a new paragraph.
Just like
It's
the
got
M
this-
dashes,
those
the really
M
long
dashes, the
It's like-
construction of, hey, it's not this, but it's that. It's like, it has a writing style.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just our like bullshit detection and our radars
Yeah.
just gets hyper responded. And it's probably the same with AI created images. We were talking about photography before we got on. Like
Yeah.
there was this image of these like pet men in the Arctic holding a polar bear, a baby polar bear. And the guy was it was like on the edge of a boat, and the guy was standing on the other side of the boat. Like he was basically floating in midair. And
Right.
you're obviously not going to hold a baby polar bear because where's the mother polar bear? They're going to come and attack you. But it actually, people believed it to begin with. And I think this was like when AI image creation was more new and fresh. But I feel as time goes on, people are just going to be more and more immune to the wonders of the image creation from AI. But they're getting really realistic though.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Look, they are really realistic. They're indistinguishable, but we will be able to discern and distinguish. But going back to creation, you're a photographer. Your photography is great. It's beautiful. It's brilliant. I really like it. So we could take all your photographs, send them into a Gen AI model, train it on that, and say, please create a Jacob Watson-Howland photograph. It could do that. But would it be able to walk through an environment and see something with your eye and take that shot from that angle in that way? And then I don't think so, because it's your eye. So
yeah, but then surely if it doesn't have to do that and it can still create an image that looks like mine, surely could get away with it though, right? Like maybe there might not be a story attached to it, but
yeah, it could. And then you have to sue him. I just filed my claim in the Anthropic copyright settlement because you go into the database and Anthropic trained its model on one of my books. So every time somebody writes something with Anthropic, do I get a royalty check? No. But I feel like I should a little bit, something. On the other hand, if I used Anthropic to write something, basically it's trained on me. So I could pay myself.
Yeah. But then how do you find out if it's trained on your book? Did you just do a deep dive and see what?
There was a lawsuit. It's with a $1.5 billion settlement.
Wow.
And there's a database. Meta used the same, but that lawsuit hasn't been settled yet. But what both Anthropic and Meta did is they wanted a bunch of words, a bunch of texts to train their model on. And they didn't want to deal with legally going to the copyright holders and saying, can we train, please? And they didn't just want to deal with public domain works. So they went to some of these pirate websites, which are repositories of basically stolen, ripped off books, movies, plays, articles, text, and sucked up all of them into their database and trained on that.
Wow.
So we're actually able to search from those sites, what was hoovered up by Meta and Anthropic. Meta also trained on my books.
So it's using these pirate websites as a middleman, so it doesn't have to get money from you.
Yeah, exactly. And the pirate websites have stolen a lot of work.
Are they able to get away with that, do you think?
They seem to. They are often, their servers are in jurisdictions where we can't reach them.
What does that mean?
It means they're in countries which don't observe copyright law and where international law enforcement can't really operate effectively.
Wow. How come you're writing a new book then if you're having all these problems with the old books?
Look, the fact is that many people loved my old books, the books I wrote before. I don't think of them as old, but one of them I just got reversion on, and I'm going to do a new edition of it in about a year or two. But a book is a great way to put a lot of information together. And Yeah, I do want people to buy the book, but it's a pretty low cost of entry. It's not like a few $1,000s. It's whatever a book costs on Amazon. But it's a really good way to organize a series of thoughts and put them together and get them down. And it was a powerful experience for me to write it. And as I have been getting it ready to publish in April of 2026, it's been powerful to get some early reads and how valuable it is for people. So I'm excited about getting that out there.
Yeah. And what's the book about? What is it trying to solve for people?
Yeah, the book is called Fearless Persistence: Creative Life, Creative Work, and the 10 Laws of Culturenomics. And what it's trying to solve for creatives is, how do you live a sustainable life? Look, our lives, my life, your life, we're creatives in this world. It's really fucking hard to be a creative in this world right now. We don't know exactly when the next, like, where's our income? We don't have jobs per se. We have to make our own jobs. We have to go get our own stuff. And we do this because we love it, but love is not enough. We have to still pay the rent. So this book is about all the things they do not teach you in film school or art school or photography school or even entrepreneur school. I teach at the business school at UC Berkeley. Just the practical stuff of how do you actually make your life sustainable. The first part of the book is about how do you sustain emotionally, spiritually, philosophically. The second part is just all this practical stuff that they just don't teach you, like, how do you send an invoice that gets paid? When you're collaborating with someone, how do you deal with that collaboration? Or how do you tell your parents what you're doing if your parents wanted you to do something else? That's really practical stuff. And then the third part, which is a really powerful part, are what I call the 10 laws of culturenomics. This is when a work is both aesthetically great and also economically successful. That marriage of aesthetics and business at the same time, which is ultimately what all of us as creatives want, right?
Yeah.
Aesthetics plus business. And in my decades of being in film and theater and media and other creative parts of the world and living on like many sides of it, I've observed that every work that is both aesthetically and financially successful observes these 10 laws. Now, it's really hard to observe them all, but everyone that has actually done that does. So I try to enumerate them and lay them out for people.
Could you lay out them roughly? Obviously, don't give away everything, but
I can lay out a few of them. I'd be happy to. Here's what I'm going to do. You see me moving my eyes around. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up my file so I lay them out for you in order because they have a certain order to them. Here we go. Yes, this is the one. It's the most recent copy edited one. I just recorded the audiobook version of it.
Nice.
And it was a really powerful experience to record the audiobook because previously my relationship with this book was just words, right? It was keyboarding, back and forth with copy editor or like interior formatting. It was just like text on a screen, electrons. But to speak the book was really first time I'd done that. It's great. I'll just start. The first law of culturenomics is that passion is the primary unit of cultural value.
Why?
That the passion of the creator is what gets passed along as part of the work. And that a creator who cares deeply, that passion reflects within the work and then it radiates outward to her audiences. And because humans are made to relate to humans, we're empathetic creatures, that passion then radiates to the audience, and then the audience adopts some of that passion. And part of that passion then escalates the work into the culture sphere. So that's one of them.
Yeah, it like almost radiates when
It
you
does
hear someone
radiate.
talking passionately about their work. You become more interested in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The second law of culturenomics is that the launch is the context. That where you first encounter something is the context of it. I just talked about Rosalia's album, Lux. We all knew it was coming out. We knew it was coming out on a certain day. We knew it was going to come out on a certain platform in a certain way. I've been a fan of her work since I heard her first album. We were waiting for it, and that kind of a launch, or when Beyonce just drops something that you didn't expect, and the shock
Mm.
of that drop is really interesting. Or maybe one of your shows, the exhibition, when people first see the work, the way it is laid out, the gallery it's in, like that's a context.
Yeah.
And it's different. The context of a series of your photographs or anyone's art hanging on on the walls of their house versus inside a gallery and a specific gallery, that context matters. It's like the frame around the painting. I mean,
Yes.
is the painting hanging in the Louvre or is it hanging in my house? It changes. It's the same art, but doesn't it change the way we perceive it?
Yeah. Why does it do that? Why is the packaging so important?
Because I think our response to all things is contextual. One of the things that I mentioned that I teach at the business school at UC Berkeley. What I teach is communications. I don't teach film. I don't teach media. I teach communications to MBAs and business executives at many companies. And one of the things that we train on is the contextualization of every communication, right?
Mm.
If you're talking to your investors, that's one thing. If you're talking to your team of engineers, that's something else. If you're talking to your board, that's a whole other thing. And we have to be sensitive to that. We can't say the same thing to different people. They listen with different ears. They
Mm.
understand different words. They have different agendas. So
Mm.
we got to talk in a way that makes sense for them.
And how would you know how to talk to them? Say you're talking to an engineer versus an executive. Wait, hold that thought. I'm genuinely so grateful that you've stuck around with us to listen to these fascinating insights from the guest so far. If this episode has given you one piece of knowledge which has helped you understand yourself and the world a little bit better than before, the absolute best way to support us is to pay it forward and hit the share button right now. Don't let this knowledge stay hidden. Please send it to one person who will benefit from this episode. Thank you so much. Let's dive back into the rest of the episode.
First, I think you know intuitively
Yeah.
what they care about. And if you're in a real high stakes situation, you've probably done your research and you
Yeah.
know who's in the meeting. You checked them out online, you checked them out on LinkedIn, and you also know what they care about and what the task is at hand. I was recently working with a bunch of leadership at a major technology company, and they have teams of engineers they supervise, but they also have to manage up to their board. So what they tell the board is one thing. What they tell the engineers who actually have to go code the tasks or develop the technologies to manufacture the chips on which the coding is going to live, it's a whole different it's a whole different language.
Yeah. Yeah. And why is it a bad thing if you get that wrong? If you speak to them in the wrong kind of language, what can that lead to?
They can't listen to you. They can't even hear it. A few years ago, here's a movie example. A few years ago, I was at the Berlin Film Festival, and we were really excited to see the second film of a director. I had distributed his first film when I was at National Geographic Films. And the movie was reputed to be a really good movie. It took place in Eritrea, and the movie started, and somehow there was a slip up, and it was a non-subtitled version. Nobody in the audience spoke Eritrean. Everybody left.
Well,
Later, I saw the movie with subtitles. I don't speak Eritrean either. It's a very good film, but because people just simply couldn't understand it, they left. I think that's what it's like when you're talking to people about anything, including as a creative, your work,
Mm.
because like I've had a very fortunate career in that I've sat at many seats of the table. I've been an executive at a studio. I've run companies. I've done distribution. I've done marketing. I've put financing together. I've been a producer of big studio movies. I've been a producer of independent movies. I've been on the set, off the set. So I've had I have a lot of context. Maybe that's why I focus on context so much, but I've had a
Mm.
lot of context and so I'm able to build these bridges. And a lot of what I do with creative people is teach them how to speak financier, because financiers will never learn how to speak creative, much as they try. But we as creatives have the flexibility to be able to learn how to speak financier. And so when I'm talking with filmmakers, independent filmmakers or documentary makers about like how do they go get money and distribution for their movies, they've got to learn how to speak financier and distributor. And so we have to learn how to speak those languages.
Yeah, and how come you've been able to, and why have you been able to and wanted to pursue so many different careers within the creative industries? You're talking about how you've made budgets, produced, been executive, like you've done it all, Adam. So what made
Yeah.
you have
There's,
that?
there are always still mountains to climb, right? But
Yeah.
it's fun. There are opportunities. And because, look, I'm a curious person and I like to work on projects that I really care about. And I made that decision decades ago that I wanted to work on projects that I care about. And yeah, of course, I want food on the table and I want to pay the rent. But I don't want to spend 4 years of my life making a movie for a lot of money that I don't care about. Because that's 4 years. Because there's always ultimately more movies, like some other way to go pay the rent. But I can't get more time. So I want to use my time. I want to use my time on stuff I love. And because of that, I've had to be inventive in figuring out the structures and the systems that would allow me to do that. Because sometimes you've got to be running a company and sometimes you've got to be getting on a plane and pitching to somebody to go get money to make a movie. And sometimes you have to stitch together a constellation of NGOs and nonprofits to finance a documentary that can have profound impact. So I've been fortunate that I have perfected ways to do that a lot of the time, although certainly every movie I want to make, haven't been able to make, but I am pretty persistent. So I just keep going.
So have you never made a movie that you wanted to make, or is it initially you haven't been like they said no when you've pitched a movie to someone?
Oh, I've definitely made movies I wanted to make, but there are movies I want to make that I have never been able to get made.
Yeah. Is that in reference to the black and white ones we were talking about earlier as well?
Yeah. Like we were talking before we started this, I love black and white, and I've always wanted to make a movie in black and white. Always. But on the distributor and financier side, they say, oh, black and white movie is not commercial. Well, I don't know. I think the audience is so ready for something different. I think the audience would love a gorgeous black and white movie. I think it's time to reinvent a film in black and white, in gorgeous, fantastic black and white, or just the way you can do composition of shots in black and white differently than color. Because in black and white, everything is black, white, or shades of gray. That's it. And the composition of, you look like a movie like Kurosawa's High and Low, which I think is one of the best composed movies ever, in just the way the bodies, foreground, background, the way the camera moves to make sure that there's always a little separation between the people. It's genius. But that movie wouldn't work in color, in that you couldn't compose it that way. So I love that. I guess that the Netflix series Ripley was done in black and white. Did you see that?
No, I've seen the film, but not the series.
Okay, the series, which is 8 episodes maybe, all black and white, Leica lenses.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Leica lens love fest with that infinite focus. It's gorgeous. It's really beautiful. I think you would love it.
Yeah, I'll check it out. And how
I
come
recommend that to you.
Definitely, no, I'll put it on the list. How
Put it on
come
the list, and then let me know what you think.
Yeah, I will. And how come the movie industry, the mainstream movie industry, aren't trying to do something different with the black and white when everything seems so saturated with color at the moment?
I think, look, to greenlight a movie is a mega $1 million decision. It's not just the movie, it's also the marketing cost to get eyeballs onto the movie. Even if it's just on streaming on Netflix or Amazon or Apple, they have to let you know it's there. And it's many millions of dollars. People don't want to make a wrong decision. So they look retrospectively, AI, at what has worked in the past. and they don't have models of black and white films that have worked in the past. So they say, why
Well,
would you do that? Yeah.
even the older movies, like the film noir and
But yeah,
before color, they don't
yeah,
use
well,
those.
in those offices, anything that is less than 3 years old is not relevant
Yeah.
for financial modeling purposes.
Oh, but how do you deal with that? You have what would be your ideal film in black and white that you have in your mind that you want to create?
Oh, I'd love to make a movie that is totally impossible to make. Now, I would love to make a great classic Western in black and white. Make me so happy. I love
Yeah.
Westerns. Because Westerns themselves, from the kind of moral compass, are black and white. And the really good ones have very complicated moral issues, like really flawed characters doing very difficult things, dealing with with themselves, the heart in conflict with itself, but also the heart in conflict with the world around them. Those are really interesting movies. And the emptiness of the Western plain and the stripped down nature of humanity in those films is really interesting to me. Yeah, I'd love to make one in black and white.
Are they still making those nowadays? Not the black and white ones, but in general, the Western genre, is it dead?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Why? Because it costs so much to make a movie and there's not a lot of precedence for them recently. And the most recent ones didn't perform very well at the box office. So here you are, you got your job, you got your house, you got your spouse, you got your kids. Are you going to greenlight that for $60 million? Are you going to bet your job on that? Maybe not.
Yeah. Do you often have those experiences yourself being the person being pitched to as well? Have you had many experiences like that and that perspective?
Yeah, I don't have $60 million. So
Yeah.
they don't pitch those things. They don't pitch those things to me. But people do come to me with projects all the time. I don't do development because I'm just not particularly good at developing scripts, and it takes a long time. And most of those scripts that get developed don't get made, and it's just not at the best use of my time. But when when projects come to me, I have a filter for them, and it's, do I like the project? Do I like the people? Do I believe there's an audience for it? And can I make a difference with it?
Mm.
And do if I can't say yes to all four of those things, then it's just not the right project for me. And I wish you well, and I'll buy a ticket if you get it made, and I'll cheer you on. But yeah, and I have to like the project. I do have to like the people. If it's a great project with bad people, I don't want to spend a few years of my life with people whom I don't like. I have to believe there's an audience for it, because if there's no audience for it, we really won't be able to get money or any viable distribution for it. And if they don't really need me, if I can't make a difference creatively in making the project creatively better, or getting the right casting, or getting the right financing or distribution for it, if they don't, like, those are things that I can do in the right circumstance. But if they've already got all those things, they don't really need me, then they're already on their way and
Mm.
they don't need me.
Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of people, you're saying how important it is
Yeah.
to have the right people. And I completely agree. But how do you know that and decipher and decide that before you jump into the project? Because you might be 1 year in or signed all the contracts and realize, oh, I actually don't like all these people when it's too late.
Yeah, that has happened. That has happened. You do try to check them out in advance. And then you try to trust your instincts, and you look for red flags and smoke signals and warning signs.
Mm.
And I think as we do more, our instincts get better.
Yeah.
The first time you do it, your instincts are terrible, but then you do it more and your instincts get better and better. This is true of anything, right? Of your
Yeah.
art, of your relationships, of how you negotiate for your own contracts. But there are still mistakes that I make, and I then use all of the other pattern recognition that I've had on other projects to make them as good as they can be, even if
Mm.
even if sometimes the people do not perform in the way that you want them to perform.
Yeah. And what are some red flags that you've collected throughout your career that you've noticed in people to be aware of?
The first is somebody who doesn't tell the truth
Mm.
about, you not trust it. bloody anything. Like, a person who will effortlessly lie. They'll effortlessly lie. Oh, yeah, I ate a double cheeseburger for lunch. They'll lie about that. Said I ate a salad. They'll lie about anything. We need accuracy and truth and authenticity all the time. And in our creative lives, often there's bad news. People don't want to share the bad news. But so people who like know there's bad news but don't want to pass it along, that doesn't help us. Like I'd much rather hear somebody say, I don't like the work, or we pass right away, than string me along for a month. We need the information so we can move on and just keep moving forward. So I think for me, the biggest red flag is people who don't tell the truth. Yeah. And then which kind of goes along with people who don't do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
Usually that's my other pet peeve.
Yeah, me too. Trust behaviors, not words.
Yeah. You said it was going to be ready on Thursday at 5 p.m. It's Friday. Where is it?
Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of knowing if someone's telling the truth, do you think you've got better at that through experience as well? You've got a better indicator and a radar for liars.
Yeah. Not 100%, but it's certainly better. It's better than it was 5 years ago, better than 10 years ago, better than 15 years ago.
And do you think in like Hollywood and the creative industry, there's much more lying going on? Or do you think it's the same as other industries?
Oh, I think it's the same as other industries. I don't think that anyone could look right now at the world's business or political landscape and say that everybody in those industries are honest. People in the media industry aren't, right?
Yeah.
But I think actually we may be more honest.
Yeah. Why do you think people are lying so much nowadays? Do you think they just think they can get away with it? Surely they're shooting themselves in the foot in the long term.
I don't know. You can get away with it long enough to have enough money in the bank. Is it okay? Do you care? I care, but I think other people care, but maybe they don't care. There's a lot of opportunism and expediency in the world we currently live in, which is why we need people to make books and art and movies and music, because that's truth. That's truth, right? Your photographs are true. Rosalia's album is true. My book is true. The documentary I'm working on is true. So it just has a different level of authenticity and understanding of the universe.
Yeah, I think in terms of where things are going, and we mentioned AI and our radar for it. Recently with guests I've been speaking about it in terms of writing, but it can be any of the things you just said. Authenticity seems to be the thing that's really drawing people in, because I think we're getting so used to the lies and the fake images and the fake work. So what would your tips be for authenticity? Is it just being vulnerable in your work and telling the truth about yourself and your work and your downfalls? What else is there to authenticity for you?
Yeah. And I think, and also let us not castigate all business people, because the leaders of the best companies that I have the honor to know are really authentic people. They are just like, what is what you get? And they do not lie. And they are very open and honest about good days and bad days, like good news and bad news and what has to happen. And I think that's really important. And I believe in business because I believe in business for all of us, including us creatives.
Yeah.
So I believe that business is a good thing. It allows us to pay the rent and keep going and keep making our movies or taking our photographs or making our albums. But what was the question? Oh, why? Yeah, go ahead.
In terms of authenticity, I've been speaking a lot about it recently because of where everything's going. And it seems that vulnerability is key to be authentic. But what are your tips for people who are creative, who want to be more authentic and share that authenticity?
There's no such thing as perfection. And part of it is feeling okay about sharing where you are with your work, where it is at the moment, knowing that it's never really finished, but at a certain point you stop. And to also, I think it's okay and great to share along the way where you are and embrace your audience in the process as you do it, because you learn from them, they learn from you. You're all part of a communal effort to bring some kind of a narrative into the world. I believe that vulnerability is actually strength.
Yeah.
It is not weakness. And perfection is, I don't know, perfection is often a reason that people say, I'm not going to do something because it's not perfect yet.
Yeah.
So
Procrastination. Yeah.
it's a good excuse to procrastinate.
Yeah.
But we just really have to keep things, we just have to keep things moving forward. Like I'm working on the book, and on my various multiple social media platforms, I'm putting up here. I've been working with a cover art designer, great cover designer. We've refined it down to here are 3 covers. What do you think? I really want to know what people think.
Mm.
And whatever cover we ultimately go with, from those, we're going to even refine even deeper, but it's
Yeah.
just going to help us be directional. Where do we want to go? And so that's an example of the work isn't done. It's not perfect yet, but in the pursuit of getting to the point where there's going to be a moment where the deadline is there and we better upload the cover of the book. And we're going to make the best choice we can at that moment.
Is that also a tribute to the power of deadlines as well? Because like
Yeah.
you're saying, perfectionism can just be procrastination. Sometimes you need that. I think you often need that deadline to really just get it out there and
We
continue.
have to have deadlines. Like you got a gallery show opening. It's opening on January 3rd. You aren't going to be hanging here on January 4th. I got a movie opening on Christmas Day. It can't open on December 26th. We realize we deadlines are important. And certainly in my universe of making movies are never finished. They're just taken away from us because they got to get up on a streaming platform or they got to go into a cinema.
Yeah. And is there ever been a movie that's gone on for like ages? Are there any really well-known movies that have been like a 10-year project, or are they normally like a couple of years to make?
From it, for most of the films that I work on are 2 to 3 years. But that's after you've said, we actually are going to go make it. Some of them, when I was doing development, they could take 10, 12 years to get made.
Wow. How come they
Yeah.
take so long?
Because it's hard to get a good script. And
Mm.
then, okay, let's say you have a really good script. Then you've got to get the director. Maybe the director hasn't even been involved yet. And then the director wants to come on board. And the director is going to want to do a rewrite of their own. And then you've got to go get the cast. And you can't get a significant movie made without some casting. And and then movie stars have, how many movies can they make a year? 2, 3, maybe 4 at the most. Maybe they have 4 slots a year. And there's a bunch of other things that are stacked up. And then you also want to customize the script to that actor. And then you've got to make deals. And the deals have got to work. And then you have to get everybody, and maybe there's a co-star. And you've got your star, but the co-star isn't available. And now you have to wait for 18 months until everybody's available. And then the day before you start shooting, another studio announced a project that was just the same.
Yeah.
And you're blown out of the water. Like, all those things can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more complex than it looks then, right?
It's complicated. Yeah.
Yeah. And in terms of the start of the book, you mentioned the emotional and the spiritual side of things. How do people maintain that emotional resilience and that spirit to do the thing? What are some insights you've collected and that you've put into the book regarding this topic? Because a lot of people get burnt out, or unmotivated, or inconsistent.
There is this sort of tension and contradiction that we have to hold as creatives, because on the one hand, we pour ourselves into our work. You pour yourself into your photographs. I pour myself into my movies. Like, it's a part of there's me in there. But the important thing to remember is that you are not your work. The work is the work. And the work doesn't even really belong to you.
Yeah.
You're a vessel through which the work expresses itself. And then, especially when the work crosses that bridge from your studio or your editing room and it goes out into the world, it's really not yours anymore. Now it's the world's, the audiences, and people will slice it, dice it, remix it, comment on it, do other things, but you're not your work. I remember when I started in theater, and the theater that I was part of, which was called the Los Angeles Theater Center, we did some pretty out there work. It was pretty avant-garde, pretty raw and vital and visceral. We did all the work of this great theater artist named Reza Abdo, who sadly passed away early in life. But this was really tough work. And it was brilliant work, truly like brilliant, groundbreaking work. And after we opened one of the plays, one of the performances, the Los Angeles Times wrote the most savage personal review, not just about the director, but about every actor, just trashing them as people.
Wow.
And so I go into the dressing room, and the way we built those dressing rooms is that there weren't star dressing rooms. It was like a co-working space where everybody was all together, and people had it was just like a bank of mirrors and places for makeup and a place for people to change for wardrobes. But everyone was so depressed. And so we did theater games and we did some exercises and we got ourselves back up into it. And the thing that really ratified for me is you're not your work. You do the work, but then what people do with it, that's them. You just do what you do. So we can't be tied to the way the world responds to it. It's just about our response. Wizard of Oz was not a big hit when it was released.
Really?
Yeah, it was a big hit when it's re-released, but it wasn't a big hit when it was released. It's a Wonderful Life was a failed movie when it was released. It was only when it was re-released that it became a holiday classic. Van Gogh sold one painting when he was alive. So we as creatives have to just be working on our work. Richard Serra says, work within the work. We work within the work. One of the writers, a great screenwriter that I worked with, Michelle Ashford, said, when you have trouble as a writer, write your way out of it. We work within the work. That's our work, but we are not our work. It just walks across the bridge and we wave goodbye. And then it's theirs. Then it's the world's.
Yeah. So is it almost focusing on the inputs and then detaching from the outcome? Be almost like stoic.
Yeah. And that's the hardest thing, right, for us, to detach from the outcome.
Yeah.
But then then we really have to just think about, why are we making the work and who are we serving with the work? Because I think we do our work as service. Even when we're making movies or taking photographs or making music, we're really not doing it just to lock ourselves in the studio and watch it ourselves. We're doing it to share with others in some way, because we believe there is something in that act of sharing that is positive for whatever circle you're in, a small community, the larger world.
Yeah. And is it just having that in mind when you are going through those tougher periods, or are there any habits or behaviors that you have done throughout your career, maybe like journaling or meditating or just getting on with the work, that helped you get through the tough time?
Yeah, I do meditate. Off screen over here, there's a yoga mat on the floor. So I have a practice, and it's good. And yoga is just all about, there's postures, but it's about breathing. What I have come to take from yoga is that it's about the breath. And there are a series of postures and positions and asanas, purpose of which is to maintain even and effortless breath, despite challenging positions. And if you have effort in your breath, then you're probably not doing the asana, or you're pushing yourself too far. So for me, that's the lane. But then there's something else that I learned early when I was working at Disney. And at that time, the head of the studio was this legendary executive, Jeffrey Katzenberg, who was one of my early mentors. So there was a movie that it was actually one of the first movies that I did. It was called Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which is the movie that ended up reinventing the Disney live action franchise. And it came out on the same day as the first Batman movie, the one with Michael Keaton, right? And basically everybody thought that nobody was going to go see this movie which was like a Disney live action movie, which there hadn't been one in 10 or 15 years. Everyone's going to go see Batman. And shockingly, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids did great. And then it was funny, these franchises and theme park rides became like a multi-billion-dollar vertical for the company. But so that weekend, we were so happy. We came out, looked at the Monday morning meeting after the weekend. We were like dancing on the table. We were high-fiving each other. We were super happy. And Jeffrey walks in, looks around the room, He says, next.
Nice. Wow.
We don't get to dance on the table. No, next. Okay. So that was next. But then here's what I really learned, the power of next. 9 months later, we had a movie that we knew was going to win the weekend. We just knew it was going to be fantastic. Everything was aligned. The tracking was great. It had great movie stars, etc. Nobody went to see it. It was like you planned for a giant dinner party and nobody came. All this
Wow.
leftover food in your refrigerator, and you just felt terribly depressed. And we were very depressed. We were looking at each other, who's going to get fired. And Jeffrey walked in and said, next, move on, next. Next is a really good word.
Whatever happens, even if it's amazing or it's terrible, just on to the next thing, on to the next episode,
Next.
on to the next photo.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't live in the past. Next. People say, what's your favorite movie? I always say my next one.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. Yeah. And does that just keep our momentum going and also stop us from resting on our laurels or being negative and depressed and then never making anything ever again? Just thinking, okay, the next thing, because we do get told often to be grateful and really soak in what's happening around you, the win or the negative thing that's happened. But it's what you're saying actually to do the opposite and to just focus on the next thing so we can continue to grow.
Yeah. Look, I think, in our creative lives, gigantic wins are infrequent, right? So I think it's great to celebrate the win. I think it's go enjoy, pop the champagne, enjoy yourself. It's great. I don't think it's good to be depressed about the loss. I think it's great to learn from both the win and the loss. I don't think we should pretend neither one happened. I think that every experience we have teaches us something, and we should have really open, we should listen with big ears, and we should feel with big hearts to receive whatever that learning is from the experience. But yeah, I don't really believe in dwelling in the past or replaying it or just like watching yourself on loop receiving an award. It's nice.
Yeah.
It was great. Happy that there was an award, but what's next? What are we doing next? Why are we here?
Why are you here? Why do you think you are here? Is it the next project? Is that why you're here right now?
I'm here to share information and ecosystems, creative people and entrepreneurs can do their best work.
Has that always been the mission or is that like the last?
That has
Chapter.
been my personal mission statement for about 40 years.
Wow.
It's like, that's pretty much what it's been.
And in terms of Disney and Katzenberg,
Yeah.
that must have been a really fruitful experience in terms of the insights you gathered. So what's one, what's one
Great.
thing, what's
was
one
great.
thing you've learned from Katzenberg and your time at Disney, or as many things as possible that you want to talk about?
Look, it taught me the movie business. It taught me the studio side of the movie business. I didn't really learn the independent side till I was running National Geographic Films, which was an independent company, which didn't have a studio, which didn't have a distribution company, which didn't have all those things that we had to go make them or make partnerships for them. But it taught me the studio side of the business. I learned Jeffrey was a mentor of mine. He never said, I'm going to be your mentor. He just was a mentor. What did I learn from Jeffrey? Your word is your bond. Yeah, there were contracts and the business affairs people would spend a lot of time on the paper. But if Jeffrey said something, he was committed to it. And that was just always going to be the way it was. There was never any question. So that certainty created like mutual respect. And everybody in town knew that if we said something, that was just going to be the way it was. And the contracts would put that on paper, but you would make a deal in a phone call. You'd make a deal over a coffee. You would make a deal with an exchange of emails, right? And those stick. So that's an important thing. I learned the roles that people play of what, like, how involved should a studio be creatively versus not. And in that time, Jeffrey's mode was to be involved, but not cross the line, to give real strong comments, but not cross the line and say, oh, I'm directing the movie. That is not what a studio should do. I think now that line gets transgressed in some circumstances, but I also believe that is not what a studio should be doing. That's not their job. And it gave me a lot of exposure to a lot of films. not just the movies that I worked on while I was there. I worked on about 15 movies while I was there, but all the movies around me. And so maybe I was exposed to 100 movies and 3,000 deals. So I just got all this pattern recognition,
Mm.
which was pretty great.
And what made you eventually leave Disney?
It was too corporate. I didn't look when I started at Disney. It's hard to believe, especially on a day like today when we're recording this, which is the day that Netflix has apparently made a winning bid for Warner Brothers Discovery for 83 million or 72 million, depending on how you look at the numbers. We'll see if that holds. Like by the time you air this podcast, we'll know if it holds or if the Paramount, Skydance, Oracle team has been able to get in the way of that. So we'll learn about that. But at that time, when I was first at Disney, it was a tiny company. It hadn't had a hit movie in years. There were 8 people in the company.
Wow.
There was Michael Eisner, Jeffrey Katzenberg, 5 people, and me.
Wow.
And they had recently been hired over from Paramount because the company had been underperforming, and the movie business was moribund. And it was about reinventing a studio. So we built a studio. Like they built a studio. I was the most junior person on the team, and I rose through the ranks. And after a certain point, that one group had become 3 divisions, and those 8 people had become hundreds of people. And when I was able to leave the studio office and go visit the set where we were actually making the movie, I would hear people call down the hallway as I walked in the door, "Suit on the set."
No way.
And I didn't want to be the suit on the set. I didn't I'm a producer. So I quit to be a producer, which is really what I feel I'm best at.
Mm. And if you feel like you were best at that, did you feel like that before you were at Disney? Because how come
Yeah.
you realized that, or you decided to go back into producing and do producing after
Well,
the Disney thing?
I've been producing theater before I came
Yeah.
to work in movies, and I'm a good producer. I think my default is to have a plan A, B, C, D, and E. It's just the way I think about the world. That is, I think, the fundamental genetic makeup of a good producer. It's like know all those things, but then also be able to have creative input and get deals made and have an overview of marketing strategy and how you're actually going to reach audiences and all those things. So I just think I enjoy it. I think I'm good at it. And I think I'm better at it than running a studio, which is something I don't really want to run a studio. It's not who I want to be. It's not how I want to spend my time.
And what, for the people that don't know much about what the producer's role is, what do you actually do as a producer in film and movies?
I love you asking me that question. My mom, before she passed away, I tried to explain it to her for years, and she never really understood it either. So, what do you do, Adam? What do you really do? Okay. And part of the reason it's complicated is because the title has been so loosely applied that everyone from somebody's agent or manager or spouse can get a producer credit, as well as the person who's actually producing. So it's a very loose title. What producers hold the entire project in their arms, from identifying what it should be. This is true for a series, a movie, or really anything. What should the project be? Developing it and knowing how to develop it and to work with the creative people, the writers, directors for developing it. Then being able to package it with the right talent, right? Actors, directors, cinematographers, composers, know how to get the financing constructed. Of course, if you're working for a studio, the studio is just writing the check. But if you're in the independent world, you've got to put the financing together from multiple sources. You do all of that. And then, now you got to go make the movie. So of the day, now you're on the set for some number of weeks or months, depending on what kind of a film it is, to actually, now you've got limited time and limited days, maybe limited availability of your key cast or your key locations. You've actually now got to capture what was the vision on film, on digital, or the sound units. You've got to actually go get it. Now you got to go get into the editing room and make sure that the entire team is editing it to what it could be. And there's a difference between the movie that you thought you were going to make and the movie you actually shot. Now you find it in the editing room, and now
Mm.
you put it together. And then you have to be able to envision, how will it reach its audience? You've got it from the very beginning, even before you started shooting. You were thinking about marketing plans. You were thinking about marketing strategies and partnerships. And now you get to start to work with marketing and distribution to implement those things. So a producer holds all of that in their hands. Now, for a smaller independent film, there might be one producer who does all those things. On these gigantic pieces of the media industrial complex, those $300 or $400 million movies, there will be multiple producers, and not everybody will do everything because there's so much to do. And these are such behemoths that producers will focus on one or two or three of those areas because they have really extra good skills in those. But that is what producers do.
So if the movie was a company or a business, would the most similar role to a producer be like a CEO?
It would be CEO, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
how come you love doing that? How come you love having your foot in all of these different areas of the production of the movie? What entices you to be a producer?
What entitles me? I guess what entitles me is I've done it a few times, and
I meant entices. I said entices, not entitles.
All right. But look, because it's the most fun a kid could have. It's just fun. I love it. It's Jacob. I haven't worked since I left college. Like I've had long days. I've had grinding days. Could this please not be so difficult? But I haven't worked since I left college. It's just fun. So
Did you always know you were going to be a producer?
no, I knew that I was going to be in some creative, expressive industry. My first career was in theater. So that's where I was initially directed. But then at a certain point, I just wanted to make work for more people than a theater could reach. And I did produce in theater. And then I became an executive at Disney, which was great. And it made me a better producer when I left that corporate world and I left having to wear the suit every day. So it was a road. But also, I think that we have careers that continually spiral and evolve. I didn't know I would be teaching at a university. I didn't know I'd be writing books. I didn't know certain things, but then I have stayed open to them and found opportunities that felt really good. And I pursued those.
And how do you have time to write the book, teach at university, and then also do the producing stuff nowadays? What is your weekly routine looking like? Are you busy every hour of the day, or do you give yourself a lot of time to think and fester in your thoughts and come up with new creative stuff?
I have had to become really technologically adept at how do I schedule myself. And I do schedule myself. So here are my tricks. I batch my work, right? So I might have accounting to do for a movie, for my personal life, for something else. I'll do all the accounting at the same time. So I just okay, I'm burrowing down. I'm logging into the bank account. I'm logging into the Excel spreadsheet. I'm just doing that for 4 hours. I'm not going to do anything else. I don't have a to-do list. I have a calendar. So if there are things that I have to do, I put them on my calendar. And I say, okay, this half hour, I'm going to write a blog post. For the next 6 hours, I'm going to edit my book. And it's literally, and what that means is I'm not taking calls. I'm not taking meetings. I've shut down my email and my WhatsApp and my Slack channel and my SMS messages, which I'm sorry for the beeps. I forgot to do before we started.
That's fine. We can edit it out.
So I just focus, and I put on loud music, which helps me focus. And I just do those things. I've gotten better at saying no to things that are extraneous. I've gotten better at delegating things that I don't personally need to touch. I am as technologically enabled as I possibly can be. And I use any form of technology that is really good and working to increase my efficacy. And I work, and because I don't work, I play.
Yeah.
I play every day.
Yeah.
There's not a day in the past 30 years that I haven't played. at what other people would call work.
Yeah, there seems to be a common thread. Doing work that feels like play to you, but looks like work to others. Is that a big secret to reference your TED Talk to happiness?
I think it's a secret for everybody, right? I think that if we can find something that gives us joy, that's what we should be doing. And part of the secret of it is the thing that for you is easy
Mm.
and for everybody else is hard. If there's something that is really easy for you that everybody else finds difficult, you could have it. You could have that profession for life because I don't know. I don't do plumbing.
Yeah.
I could not really fix plumbing,
Yeah.
but there's a plumber who came over to our house. He loved plumbing so much. He was just talking to me about pipes and fittings and diameters. And he was just so excited about it. He was doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing.
Mm.
And for him, it was effortless. He fixed whatever had to be fixed in moments. It would have taken me 2 days and I would have broke everything. So,
Yeah, you'd be underwater right now.
exactly.
Yeah. And do you think most people ignore that? Do you think most people just have this thing that they know makes them happy? They love doing pottery, for example, but society tells them you can't make a career out of pottery. You should just do that after 5 p.m. Do you think that's the common trap that people fall into? They don't take that risk to try and do the thing that makes them happy as a career.
I think it's a risk. Look, if you got a family and kids and a mortgage and stuff, please don't just quit your job and make pottery because you got to feed the family.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating that, but I do think that, look, there is definitely a risk in both the creative life and the entrepreneurial life. I work with a ton of people who are doing startups, who are entrepreneurs, and they might be on their third or fourth or fifth startup, but every one of those is a risk. But I think in the creative industries, many people don't think that with the concept that you are the CEO of you and that your creative work is also a business if you want it to sustain you.
Yeah.
Sometimes people come to me and say, Adam, I want to make my movies or write my scripts or write my books or whatever, but I'm not making any money. I said, okay, I'll say, okay, what can you sell me today? What can you sell me today? I don't have anything ready. Okay. Then you actually haven't thought about this like a business
Yeah.
because you have to have something to sell. So Jacob, you're a photographer. If I wanted one of your photographs, you could probably make a print and sell it to me.
Yeah.
You could do
It's
that.
on the website. Yeah.
That'll happen. So you've set that up. You're an artist, but you're also a business person. I make a movie. I don't make it to just screen it on my large screen TV. I make it to sell so people can buy tickets or buy downloads. So people have to really think of yourself as a creative entrepreneur,
Yeah.
that you are the CEO of you. And there are certain business things that you've just got to do if you want to have that as your life. Now, if making your pottery after 5 p.m. is what makes you happy, that's fine too. But you just have to decide, is your art a business or a hobby? No judgment either way, but that there's an intention there. What is your intention for it? And if you want it to be a business, maybe it starts as a hobby and then you move it into a business as you start to get sustainable life and income from it. But you have to decide, do you want to be moving in that way?
Is this an advantage of starting young as well? Because you don't have the mortgage, you don't have the kids to feed.
It helps. It helps if you don't have a bunch of financial responsibility when you start out. At the same time, people at midlife have made big shifts and have moved into creative work that they kept as a hobby for years. And the advantage of that in midlife is maybe they've saved some money, they know how things work, and they've created enough of a cushion for themselves that they're willing to go out and take that risk. But
Yeah.
Jacob, here's the other thing about it. We creatives, we think we're all alone. We're not. We think we're alone because, like, when I'm making a movie, we're in the editing room. There's 6 people in the editing room. Maybe there's 3. So we think we're all alone, right? Or you're in your studio, you're making your prints. Maybe you have one assistant, right? Like there's not a ton of people. So we think we're all alone. There are millions of us.
Yeah.
But because we're not part of a company that employs 100,000 people and we go on retreats, or we're not all part of the same trade union, we don't all belong to the same social club, right? We
Yeah.
don't know that we are part of a very large group, but we're really big. We're a very important group, and there are millions of us. In the United States alone, there's something like 12 million people who make their primary living from creative work. It's a
Mm.
lot, but
And should we try and
but
connect more?
I think so. Yeah, that's one of the things that I try to do, and that's one of the things I'm trying to do in my work, and one of the things that I hope that fearless persistence does and inspires people to do
Mm.
to, to connect more and support each other more.
Can that
Yeah,
Does that mean online, or does it also mean in person as well, like a mixture of both?
every way you can do it.
Yeah.
Every way you can do it.
But what's the benefit of that? Is it just sharing ideas, supporting each other, holding each other accountable? What are the benefits of not doing it alone? Because, like you're saying, so many of us are doing it
Check,
alone or feel
check,
like we're
check.
doing it
But
alone.
look, it's an illusion that we do it alone.
Yeah.
We feel alone. You don't do it alone. I don't do it alone. Yes, you may have a camera and you can walk solo into an environment, but after that, you're not doing it alone. You've got you're making your prints, you're connecting with your gallery, you've got your website going, you've got your subscriber list. You're not alone. You're
Mm.
building your community, your audience, you've got your social media presence. There are connections because we don't really make our work to hide it. We make our work to share it.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
making of it is not like on a movie, the smallest movie that I've made easily has 200 people involved in making it.
Wow.
And the biggest one probably has 5,000 people involved in making it.
Wow.
It's, it's a lot of work. This is all handcrafted, right?
Yeah.
Even with every piece of technology, it's handcrafted.
Is this a reason why the movie that you intend to make isn't the same as the movie that ends up being finished? One, because of the time constraint, and two, because there's just so many people involved. It
Yeah.
can just go any direction in that sense.
Yeah. And there's so many variables. A screenwriter writes a scene. The director approves the scene. The actors say, yes, I'll say those lines. And then there's the performance and the day. And is it raining? Or did someone have a fight with their kid? And then they have to go perform the lines. And it's all, but actually, sometimes it's better than you imagined it to be. I'm not saying it's worse. I'm just saying it's different.
Yeah.
It's different. Just as perhaps when you're in a recording session, you can look at the score sheets, right? All the orchestrated score sheets, and you know what the composer is thinking. If you read music, you can hear it in your head. It doesn't sound like the string section actually sounds. Suddenly, with inspired string players, it comes to life in a whole different way.
Is that the beauty of it as well? Just the unpredictability.
Yeah, it's great. It's like life. You don't know what's next.
Yeah. Is that kind of a fundamental part of creative work, whether it's drama, whether it's theatre, whether it's film, whether it's art? You're not knowing what's next. You don't know what the painter's going to paint next. You don't know what the producer's going to produce next. That uncertainty really draws people in. Do you think that's a really important part of why we're so attracted to just the creative stuff, art in general?
Yeah, I think, look, what does it do? What does it really do? I think it does. I think the arts, I think all creative work does two things. For the world at large, it creates narratives. Whether it could be a photograph as a narrative, right? And
Mm.
say, or a movie, or a 20 episode series on Netflix they're all narratives. And these narratives become models that the world follows. I don't believe that the narratives emulate the world. I believe that the world emulates the narratives. There's this thing that like we learn how to relate to people, how to act, maybe how to hold our fork in a nice restaurant by watching experiences of it that we see, and then we emulate those narratives. On the larger scope, I think that cultures and nations and groups of people follow the narratives that are laid out in the creative works that become seminal to those groups. But then on a personal level, the creative works are the laboratories where we discover our emotions, that unquantifiable human thing that is emotion, where we discover our emotion and our consciousness, where we discover what makes us feel happy, what makes us feel sad, what makes us feel engaged with another person through the media. These are laboratories for us. We discover these things through our interactions with music and art and dance and film and other experiences, concerts and things. We discover that. That's really powerful. So there's this internal role, and then there's this external social, societal, cultural role that all of the work plays. Yeah. And I think so we're always about how we are going to advance things. And I think there's also this level of suspense about what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Any narrative, if it's a good narrative, you can't stop in the middle.
Mm.
You want to keep going. You have to find out, how does it turn out? How does it come to a conclusion? I think humans are actually hardwired to want to know how things turn out in a good narrative. Don't you?
Yeah. But why are we so drawn to narratives and stories and
That is a really great question for evolutionary biologists.
yeah.
I don't know, but I'll tell you that my experience, I got 2 kids, and when they were really young, I would tell them stories as they were going to bed. When they were really young, then I could just say, "Oh, it's 8:00, time for bed," and stop wherever I would be. Right around 18 months, they wouldn't let me stop. They said,
Wow.
"What happens next, Dad?" So there's something developmental about narrative consciousness that I noticed with both my kids that just happened right around 18 months or so. I don't know what it is. I'm not an evolutionary biologist, but I felt it.
Mm.
And they felt it too. They wanted to know what happens next.
18 months as well. That's not exactly old. It's like barely a toddler.
Yeah.
Indicates that there's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff
But
going on innately.
kids understand a lot,
Yeah.
and they understand narrative.
And what does having kids taught you, and how has your life changed since having kids?
Oh, it's the best thing. Being a parent's fantastic. Being a parent, it's a job you can never get fired from. It's a job for life. It's the best job ever. And it's beautiful to watch children grow, mature, develop, become more and more themselves, and to see that happen. And then how your relationship with them changes as that occurs, because that's also a really significant and beautiful thing to watch how the relationship between parent and child changes as time goes by.
And how has it changed for you?
In the very early years of parent-child relationships, a lot of what parenting is setting boundaries.
Yeah.
Don't touch the hot stove. Don't run into the street. It's not really appropriate to have a tantrum at the dinner table. Just like, what are the rules of navigating in this world that we live in? And then, so that's like early on, it's like those boundaries. And then being a coach for resilience as children get older and face stuff in school and with their relationships and how those get navigated. And I remember actually when my kids were just out of college, having a very explicit conversation with each of them and saying, okay, our roles changed. So when you were really young, it was about don't touch the stove. And now it's about, how can I be a resource for you to live the life you want to live?
Mm.
Those are really different. There's a very different parent-child relationship as parents get older and as kids get older.
But what I admire about that, Adam, is the fact that you're aware that is changing and you're not trying to cling on to the old relationship. You're not the dad who's trying to set boundaries to their kids when they're 30 or 20, because so many parents do that.
I know. And it bugs me. And often it happens around things like when kids have kids and then the grandparents try to tell their kid how to parent. They're not parents. They're the grandparent. I'm a grandparent, but I would never tell my daughter how to raise her kids. They're her kids. I want to be her dad and I'll be their granddad, but I'm not in their life, in their world, in their situation, in the world today, this year. It's different. And
Mm.
so there's just like an appropriateness of how you do it.
What's it like being a grandfather?
It's great.
How does it differ?
You get all the good stuff.
Yeah.
You get all the good. You don't have to drive them to school every day. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm really lucky and blessed that I have great kids, great grandkids, great wife and life partner. It's like I'm very fortunate about the people in my life. And as I said, I was fortunate about the work that I'm able to do in my career. Even more fortunate about my relationships. Relationships are great.
Yeah. And how did you meet your wife and when did you meet your wife?
I met my wife. I'm divorced, and I met the woman that I am now with and who is my life partner. We met 9.5 years ago, and we were set up on a blind date. And it was just like instant. It was just there.
Yeah.
There's something great about finding the person you want to be with a little bit later in life because you know who you are. You know who you are in a different way than you knew who you were when you were 20. You thought you knew who you were, but you didn't really know. But now, and so it became, so when we met, it was just like, okay, done.
It was that quick just because you were both so certain?
It was instant.
Wow.
Yeah. Dominique will tell you that she knew in the first hour, which was our first date, I was behind schedule. It took me 20 minutes into our second date to know. But it's all like all over about a 4-day span. It was just very obvious.
Is that literally just intuition that's been sharpened through experience, knowing who you are, knowing what you like and knowing what you want in a partner?
Yeah, I don't know if you would just call it feels like it's more than intuition. It's a deep knowing. It's a deep knowing.
And how's that improved your life, finding your life partner?
Oh, it's just great. Do you have a partner? I'm
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah.
How long have you been together?
Over 2 years.
Brilliant. So happy for you.
Thank
You look, my wife's my best friend. We've got each other's backs. We're in the foxhole together. We do things together. It's great to have someone with whom to share experiences. We learn from each other. She's a really smart, really interesting person. I hope I'm really smart and really interesting for her too. We complement each other. So it's just great.
Is it just making life easier and almost, I feel like when you find that person, you just feel less alone. Like we were talking about how sometimes we feel alone as creators. When you have that person who just is on the same wavelength as you,
Yeah.
you realize what you've been missing in a way. That's how I feel personally.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. Because you are less alone. Because you're not alone.
Yeah.
And so you have someone to share life with. And life's not easy. There's stuff. There's political stuff and social stuff, and a family member could get sick, people pass away, there are reversals of fortune, there's stuff. And to have someone to sit out and have dinner with every night is a great blessing.
Yeah. And speaking of loss and tough things in life, you mentioned that you have lost your mother.
Yeah.
How has your life changed since then and how have you dealt with that loss?
Yeah. Look, my mom died in her sleep at the age of 101.
Wow.
She had a great run.
Yeah.
She lived by herself. She had a great run. She was fabulous. I miss her. I miss my dad. And we had done everything that, well, I never got her on a plane and took her all around the world. There are things that we could have physically done, but at an emotional level, we had done everything that we needed to do. We had said everything we needed to say. Up until the last couple of weeks, we would actually get on the phone or get on a Zoom and play cards or math games. She was like, she would do like very complicated math problems in her head, like super complicated math problems in her head
Wow.
at the age of 101. So it was just, yeah. So it's just part of the transitions as we go on.
Mhm.
People, it's a loss, obviously.
Yeah.
What, and it's painful. But what's also really painful is that when people like your age or younger than your age die,
Mm.
they get sick or there's an accident or something, that's really just reminds us all that we don't have more time. There can be another bottle of wine, there could be another deal, there could be another movie, another album to record, but you don't have more time. So
Mhm.
use the time.
Yeah. Really good advice. And how often should we think about our own mortality and our own death, and how should that guide us in life?
I don't think we should be fixated on our own death because we don't have much control over that.
Yeah, true.
But I do think that we live this life to serve others. So being aware of the legacy of service that we'll leave is a good thing. But I'm not really a big fan of being fixated on one's own death. I think that feels morbid and not really being present.
Mm.
I think it's really great to be present. I think that now is the only living real time there is, not the past, not tomorrow, right now. How can we be really present right now and do the best we can, do our
Mm.
good work?
Yeah, definitely 100% agree. It's
Yeah.
why do you think we do often as humans have that fixation on past events or fixation on the future though? And it's almost hard. We almost have to force ourselves sometimes to be
Kind of
present.
lets us avoid the present, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it's almost like procrastination from taking
Yeah.
action and
One
doing
way or
stuff
the other.
now.
And it's so interesting. How do you approach that in your photography? Because you shoot stills, you shoot an instant in time, right?
Yeah.
64th of a second. That's it right there. How do you like, how does that make you feel when you capture that second at that shutter speed?
It's incredible.
Mm.
It helps me be present. I think I use photography, especially in nature, as a
Yeah.
form of presence and almost
Mhm.
meditation. But I always, when I'm looking back and editing my photos,
Yeah.
seeing that moment, and maybe it's a picture of me and my dad in the orchard that next to a house that's planning to be removed and destroyed for houses, and it's a picture of my dad and my dog running towards me
Right.
from a month ago, and I just
Right.
think how I feel really blessed and grateful that I was able to capture that split second. It's just incredible how we can freeze time in this little capsule and put it onto our
Right.
screens. It's
And
incredible.
and not all moments are equal because you might have taken 100 photos, but there's that one with the orchard and your dad and the dog and the way they appear in the frame and the expression on the dog's face, like
Yeah,
all those things, which that instant, which is why stills are so powerful.
yeah.
Yeah,
Do you think that's the same as paintings, or do you think they hold a different place?
they hold a different place, but they're also a static image.
Yeah.
But they're not. Look, there's a lot of different kinds of art. Some art, you look at Vermeer. Vermeer captures a moment in time. It's highly constructed, more constructed than we can construct a photograph, but highly constructed. But it's a moment in time. But then, I don't know, Lucian Freud doesn't really construct a moment in time. He constructs an emotional personality experience.
Mm. It's so interesting how every different creative person gives you a different feeling as the viewer.
Yeah.
Even every different piece of work from that creator can give you a different feeling.
Mm.
And I find it interesting how we talk about when we're sharing it to those people, and the moment we share it, it isn't ours because the person that's viewing it is going to have an opinion of it, and
Right. It's
therefore it's going to be
theirs.
theirs.
It's theirs. And they'll
Yeah.
tell you what it means
Yeah.
to them. But that goes back to what I was saying before, that that expressive works, they're our personal laboratory. It's where we discover ourselves through that. So that's what's great about it. We discover
Mm.
ourselves.
And do you think people can discover themselves by looking at others' work as well?
Yeah. We're experiencing it, listening to the music, watching the movie, watching the series on Amazon. Yeah. I think that's why we do it. We discover ourselves.
Yeah. And what's one question you wish people asked you but never have yet?
Oh. You could just have asked it, maybe. That would be both meta and ironic at the same time. A question that people wish they had asked me, that I wish they'd asked, but they haven't asked yet.
Yeah.
You stumped me with that one, Jacob. I think you asked the question. I think that was it.
Yeah.
That was that was it right there.
Yeah. It's always one that you have to like sit and really think, because I don't really know. For me, I don't know what question I want people to ask me, which they haven't.
Yeah. Maybe what's the real secret of your pie crust? Might be.
The real secret of my podcast.
Of my pie crust.
Pie crust? What's pie crust?
Like when you're making a pie.
Right.
How do you make the perfect crust? What might be?
Do you have the secret?
I do.
I want to know the secret. What is the secret of your perfect pie crust?
The secret is vodka instead of water.
Really?
Yeah.
What does that do?
When you're cutting the butter in or the shortening into the flour, I use butter.
Yeah.
You got the butter, you got the flour, you got a little salt, you got a little sugar, and you need a little water to put it all together.
Yeah.
But the problem is that then the crust can end up pasty or thick instead of flaky. But if you use vodka instead of water, then you take the crust, you put it into the refrigerator, it's stone cold, and you put it into a really hot oven. The alcohol all burns off. But then as it burns off, the vodka's like, the alcohol molecules explode a little bit and they make it super flaky.
Wow.
I've now just revealed the secret for everybody. Make pie crust with vodka.
How did you learn that?
Someone told me and I tried it. It was great.
Does it not? It doesn't change the taste because you're saying the alcohol burns off.
It's vodka. It's just basically all of the alcohol burns off, and the water evaporates, but it leaves a very flaky pie crust.
Wow, that's incredible. And how much vodka could you use? What's the perfect amount?
Oh, it depends, like how big a recipe you're making, but just enough to make the dough start to come together. So it might be, I don't know, 100 milliliters, 200 milliliters, it depends. But because you're using vodka and it all evaporates, it's much more forgiving than if you use water. It actually gives you some margin of error and cooking flexibility. I cook a lot, so I always look for the places where there's a forgiving recipe or one that has to be followed with nuclear engineering precision.
Yeah. And why do you cook so much? Why do you love cooking?
Oh, it's so much fun. It's great because you get to feed people and it's predictable. And we talked a lot about the insecurities of creative work and creative life. We live in, I don't know if my movie is going to finish well. I don't know if it's going to open. I don't know if people are going to like it or hate it. But if you give me a chicken in 2 hours, I'll make you a perfect roast chicken. It's very predictable. I know I can control that and do it.
There's more controlled variables.
I can do that. Yeah. And then I can feed it to people and make them happy and give them apple pie with really good crust and they'll be really happy. So I know that's something I know I can do.
Yeah. It's guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Are you going to make a cookbook next after this book?
I thought about it.
Did you?
I thought about it. Yeah.
What would the theme be? Would it just be your best meals and best recipes?
I won't tell you that yet.
Okay.
It's a kind of literary idea and I have to perfect it before I feel ready to talk about it.
Okay. You're going to have to come back on the show when you're...
I would love to. And then I might be able to share some of those things. I'm not sure that'll be my next book. I think I have maybe another book, but between that one and this one, but it's something that is in the queue.
Yeah. What's the theme of the book in between this one and then the cookbook? What's the theme of the middle book?
First, I think everybody should pre-order Fearless Persistence right now.
Yes, right. Definitely. I'll leave it in the description.
Let's do that. But I think the next one will either be an updated version of Inside Track for Independent Filmmakers, which was a book I made maybe 10 years ago and is just due to be updated. And I just got reversion from the publisher, so I can do that. Or it will be based on the communications training that I do for business executives and all the things that I've learned and that we have learned about communication and in any medium, whether it's business or like any kind of communication that we have to do, and some of the tools and the frameworks to make really effective communications happen. between people and within organizations and systems.
Yeah. And how important is repetition when it comes to communication? So I'll read that book from you, Adam, and then do you just need to just implement those as much as possible and then it becomes second nature? Is that the key to communication?
You have to, there's a lot of keys, and there's a lot of keys that make effective communication,
Yeah.
but having a thing that is repeatable and memorable is certainly one of them. Because in any communication, when you think about the audience or the recipient of it, after they leave the podcast or go out of the room and they take away, they'll remember one thing.
Yeah.
There will be, if people watch this whole podcast, there's one thing that people will really remember. Be interesting to know what people remember. People remember different things, but there will be one thing that's the big thing they take away, and they'll click it off and they'll tell their friend, "Hey, I just heard this podcast and
Yeah.
I just learned this thing, or I just found out, or there's this thing that the guy said." There'll be one thing, and then that's what gets repeated.
Yeah. And is there one particular thing you want the audience to take away from the conversation? One insight or?
Yeah. Don't stop.
I repeat that to myself every day, so many times a
Do you?
day.
Don't stop.
That's my mantra. Just don't stop.
Don't stop. Keep
Yeah.
going. Keep doing it.
Yeah. Awesome. And if you could give your 20-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
You're doing great, and push it farther. Don't let your doubts dissuade you.
How do you not let your doubts dissuade you?
I don't know. If you're 20, it's really hard.
It is.
But-
Yeah. Building proof?
Yeah. Do it more. Do it
Yeah.
more. It's all about successive approximation and trial and error.
Just don't stop. On to the next thing.
Don't stop. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. Awesome.
Persist. Persist.
Yeah. Adam Leipzig, ladies and gentlemen. Adam, you're
Great.
great. You are
You're great.
amazing.
It's-
Thank you
it's-
so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. It's been so great to be here with you. I love all your questions, and I love getting to know you through this podcast.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, it means a lot. And you've done so much stuff. It's really hard to fully unwrap your career and all your experiences and insights. But if they want to buy the book or any of your other books or check out any of your other work, where should they go?
I think people should look for Fearless Persistence on Amazon, which will either be up for pre-order now or soon, depending on when this podcast drops. And I think it's a great entry point into what I hope to share. And the people who have read it in advance have said it has really changed parts of their lives in really important ways. And I hope I can do that for everybody who reads it.
Excited to read it then. Thank you so much for joining me, Adam.
Thank you.
If you've made it this far, you're likely not just a listener, you're ready to be the host. You felt that sense of intimacy and connection with our guest today, and you would like to get the same on your own show and start your own dream show. But you're worried about landing dream guests and all the complications and the mess that is often spoken about when starting your own podcast from scratch. You think starting a podcast requires a huge budget and a whole team, right? That is absolute nonsense. My pro remote podcast blueprint is the ultimate key to skipping the outdated advice and building a high quality, high impact show, even for under $100. It provides the proven strategies and AI templates that I use to this day that you will be able to use to reclaim your time and creative control. And this is a strictly limited opportunity. Don't dilly-dally because there's limited spaces. We've already got one student, Rob, who's joined. That means there's only a couple more spaces to get the Pro Remote Podcast Blueprint course half price. And you need to act very fast because this is a limited offer and you're very early. So if you want to get the early bird discount like Rob has and get the results by watching the course that goes through the exact step-by-step blueprint that I use to this day to create these episodes that you've just watched and get to the success and become Europe's fastest growing under 21 podcaster, and also join live weekly calls with me and use the AI templates and email templates that I use every single day to get the results and just get all my secrets without getting any of the mistakes and failures that I've made, then top link in the description is for you. And if you're ready to launch your own show and get personalized one-to-one help from me and copy my blueprint, which no other podcaster has shared, then I'll see you there. I'm rooting for you. Goodbye. Hope you enjoyed the episode too.